Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. We will be starting shortly, and we're so glad that you're all here. So we'll let more people come in, get comfortable, get your lunch, and we will be starting shortly. So just enjoy the moment, and we're so glad that you're here. So we'll give it a few more minutes, maybe 2 more minutes before we get started. I know everybody's excited about having their student at home, and so we will be starting shortly. All right, well, Dr. Stowe is here. Hello, Dr. Stowe. So, Dr. Stowe, we're going to give maybe 1 more minute for our participants to log in and come in. So we'll just make sure that everybody gets enough time to come in, and we'll go from there. All right. All right. Welcome, everybody. Great webinar this lunchtime. So bring your lunch, get comfortable. We hope this is going to be very helpful for all of us parents. I include myself in that group. So welcome, everybody. We'll give everybody 1 more minute to come in, get settled, get comfortable. And so we're very glad that everybody's here today. All right. All right. So, well, good morning or good afternoon. Happy lunch, everybody. So my name is Carmen Novoa, and I serve as the Family Engagement Coordinator for the Office of Off-Campus Student and Family Engagement. And we're very excited to have everybody here today. The webinar today has a purpose in the sense that your students are coming home, and we're all excited. You're all excited that they're coming home first for Thanksgiving, then for the holidays. It's been a long semester, and lots of things have happened. So we wanted to put out this webinar so that you would all be able to have these great conversations without overwhelming students. We know students sometimes just want to come home and eat and rest, but we as family members and as parents, we want to know what's going on. So that's why we invited Dr. Stowe today to be able to chat with you all and give you ideas and give us ideas as parents. Again, I include myself in that group. So before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. The webinar will be available, is live on Facebook after we are done. Also, within the next week, hopefully before Thanksgiving, we will be able to have this captioned on our website. So you're welcome to go and look at the webinar. We also have past webinars on our website. If you would like to go back and look at some of the webinars that we did over the summer, they're posted there, and some of the webinars that have been done over the years are also posted there. Those are great resources for you to go back and look at. So during our webinar, you will be able to write your questions in the Q&A section. You will be able to also send some questions through Facebook. So if you see me looking to various screens, it's because I'm monitoring the questions. And then we'll have time at the end for you to submit your questions. We'll also be able to, again, send us any questions to our through our email, or definitely check our webpage later on. So I think without further ado, welcome, Dr. Stowe, and thank you for being here.
Carmen, thank you so much for that warm welcome and that great introduction. The timing of this seminar or webinar is just perfect. I think getting home for Thanksgiving break and thinking about the holidays is definitely on the students' minds, and I know it's on families' minds as well. I'm really ready to see your student, most likely, but also anticipating what that'll be like. So hopefully today we'll give you some things to think about and just a minute to maybe pause and prepare yourself for how to have a meaningful and enjoyable break and enjoy the time with your student. All right. So, some of the topics that we're going to talk about today include managing your expectations, recognizing when there may be a concern, and how to be supportive, kind of some things to do, also some things not to do, and then really talking about self-care during the holidays for your student, but your family as well, because it's a stressful time for everybody sometimes. I think the biggest thing with expectation management is just really thinking about what this time is for everybody. I found this funny meme just as this resonates with me, and certainly my kids are always the one helping me with understanding the tech support that we have. I do that actually for my parents too, so kind of stuck in the middle there. There's a mix of emotions, though. These are just a few of the things that could be on your mind. Feeling really ready, maybe missing your student, especially if this is the first time that they've been away. But even if they've been away several years and are juniors or seniors, it's normal for you to miss your student, while also being excited that they're out there living their lives and becoming independent and learning how to adult, kind of thinking about what to expect, whether they're coming home for sleep or food or friends or laundry or rest. And are you ready? And are you feeling a little anxious? You may have a lot of other things going on with the holidays as well. If extended families involved, or if there's travel, there are things that could have happened in the last year that you're anticipating may impact your experience, maybe a move or the loss of a family member or some other changes in life. So the holidays in and of themselves bring along a whole mixed bag of feelings and experiences. And then add another layer when your student's been away and is going to be returning as well. So I just want to kind of own and acknowledge the yes, and we're complex human beings and we feel all of that. And it is normal and human to feel many things at the same time. And so accepting that, so we can feel grateful, and we can also maybe feel sad about some family dynamics that have changed. We can enjoy extra time with loved ones, but also feel overwhelmed by their presence. We can be hopeful while also being exhausted, maybe from stress. And we can be a source of support for others, but also take care of ourselves. And so sometimes these things seem like they can't necessarily coexist, but they absolutely can. And creating space in yourself and in your home and with your student, that all of these things can be going on. And that is totally okay and actually pretty normal and expected. I wanted to share just a little bit about some of the concerns we've seen in student counseling services over the past fall. And so I would say this fall is unique compared to other falls. And part of that is we expected coming out of COVID into really the first semester that we've had just fully in person. Last fall, we had started the semester with a lot of COVID precautions in place. It wasn't till really the spring that we lifted some of those. So this is the first real fall kind of normal that we've had. What we're seeing, though, is that there are a lot of students that are dealing with some grief and loss, and some of that is loss maybe of family and loved ones, but it's also, just some normal loss, especially coming to college, maybe first year or transfer students in particular, of leaving home and kind of the changes that happen. That can be a real loss as well. So grief can be experienced when there's the death of somebody, but also any kind of loss or change. We are seeing quite a bit of trauma, and a lot of that's the impact of COVID. It's been interesting. A lot of students are noticing impacts of COVID that they didn't realize. Some of that is because of the isolation, and now that they're really more out and about in kind of pre-COVID conditions, they're noticing things about themselves. For example, they'll say their social meter is depletes really, really quickly, and that they find themselves, while they love being around people and enjoy being connected, they find themselves being really tired a lot more quickly than they used to be. A lot of change happened during COVID and a lot of impacts happened during COVID that may feel traumatic to some people. I mean, not only just grief and loss, but changes in just how we've had to operate, changes in expectations, changes in safety concerns, certainly the medical concerns that we've had to all deal with. They can have a significant impact. And you think about the age that the college students are, that 18 to 25-year-old, the majority of our students fall. That's such an important developmental time where they're understanding themselves and growing into being adults, and their brains are starting to think more complexly. And COVID really has had an impact on that, and students are starting to notice that this semester. Lots of transition issues. Students always are thinking about transition and that impact and that transition from kind of being younger to more adulting, which is great to have the independence, but also a struggle because they don't necessarily like everything that comes along with the adulting. A lot of financial stress. A lot of impact from prolonged stress and anxiety, just having had to manage so much over the past couple of years that over a period of time, that takes a toll and they feel some exhaustion from that. I would say the largest majority of students, whenever I'm with a group of students, I like to say and kind of ask, like, check in with me, tell me a little bit about how you're doing right now and how you think students are doing right now. And there's a real common experience of social anxiety. We were seeing that before COVID, but in particular with so much isolation that people had, they are really noticing the social anxiety. A lot of students will kind of hide behind their phones. Sometimes you'll see people walk around campus and they're got earbuds in or looking at their phones. And when you ask students about that, for some of them, they'll say it's really kind of protective. It keeps them from having to interact with people when they feel a lot of anxiety. They've talked about not feeling comfortable going to new situations or new events without somebody they know or being really sure what it is, just because of that uncertainty, and they haven't had some experiences before, and they just have a great deal of social anxiety. So we're seeing some of that and helping students work through some of that and build some of those social skills. They are burned out and many lack motivation. They care deeply about school, and they're also finding it really hard to just push through and to get their work done. They're having to really motivate themselves and finding that a challenge. A lot of students are just describing themselves as really tired. And I think it's an exhaustion that's happened over time, but also this fall, they said, feels like a lot. It's they have described it as just being fast paced, that there's no slowing down, there's no pauses and breaks. And one group discussion that I was in, the students said, we got really used to flexibility. We got used to having a lot more downtime and not as many other things going on outside of academics. And now getting back to this pace has been really challenging for them. And then I think, again, just kind of underscoring all of that is just noticing impacts of COVID, just how different things were, maybe how they have been impacted as things are transitioning to our new next, what that means to them and how they're navigating that. So these are the things that have been really common with students that we've seen in counseling, but really just around campus when I've been in many different conversations. I think these are helpful for you to know. They may be able to serve as conversation starters or really just some context for you to know that a lot of college students are dealing with a number of different things. I think the other parallel is that you may be experiencing many of these things too, and your family members may as well. And so there is that just common human experience that a lot of us have had, that these things can show up in our lives and in our families. And then holidays, with all the extra that come with holidays, the joy and the stress, that it really kind of elevates some of these experiences. These two little, the quote and the cartoon, I think I've had students say that it really resonates with them. And the first one really talks about resilience, and they're just tired of being resilient, and they just want a break, and they want to rest and they want to relax. And the other one just says, come on in, sorry about the mess. We're just in the middle of not caring anymore. That really speaks to their lack of motivation. Is just school is important. They still have goals. They still want to succeed, but they're tired. They're tired. So I'm going to give you some, just a few different ways to think about how to be supportive or how to think about your holidays and the time that you spend together. The next few thoughts I'm going to share really come directly from an article from Grown and Flown, which also has Facebook. You can follow them on Facebook, and they have some great articles as well. But 5 things to know before your college student comes home for the holidays. And the first one was really interesting, and to me, especially since they put this first. Do give yourself permission to feel sad when your student returns home. And you might ask at first, like, why would I feel sad? I'm very excited. And I think what can couple sometimes with that excitement is expectations of what it's going to be like. And we're going to have this, big embrace after not seeing each other for so long. And they're going to be so ready to come home. And students are ready to come home, and they're looking forward to the comfort and familiarity of home. At the same time, you may feel sad because it's different. Those of you who have older students may know this feeling that they're different. There's the difference in your roles and how you interact with each other. They've had some time away to do some things on their own. They've met different people. They've tried different things. They have new routines. They may have new hair. They may have a new way of expressing themselves. And so you might feel some sadness or some grief or some loss because things are different than they have been, or maybe your student isn't spending as much time with you or at home or with family as you would like. They're wanting to do other things. So allow yourself to feel that and name that and own that, and that's okay. And that is part of what happens as your child becomes an adult and you transition from that more protective caregiver parent child role to the parent student adult role, where you're still a caregiver. You're always their parent, but it is a different dynamic. This tip I thought was really useful and helpful too. Don't overschedule day one of their return. And I caution you from overscheduling really any of the break for yourself as well as for your student. There is a tendency to say, okay, I've got them home. We're going to get their doctor's appointment, dental appointment, their haircut because they haven't had it cut all semester. And we can do this these first days because places are open. We have the time. But be mindful that just packing up and ending a semester and coming home for a break is a lot itself. And so particularly over the 1-week fall break, really caution you from overscheduling too much. But even over the December, January break, making sure there's some time for transition and some time to just kind of relax for a minute before doing too much. It can be overwhelming and backfire, actually. Do spend quality time with your student, just being with them. While having some activities to do can be a lot of fun, and there's always maybe things that your family enjoys doing together, enjoy some time just kind of holding space together. Maybe that's coffee in the morning where there's not a lot scheduled, or there's just time hanging out, in front of the TV where there's not a lot going on, but you have some time to just spend together without expectation, just kind of being as you are. Build in some time for that without pressure of having to have a deep conversation or the most meaningful conversation. And I think if you can do this over a period of time, the more comfortable you are kind of being back together and in that space, the more conversation that can emerge as well. One tip that I think is helpful, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this, is don't negatively comment on their physical appearance. You may notice changes. You may notice changes in how they're dressing, how they express themselves. It may be hair color. It may be makeup. It may be words or the way that they talk. It may be other habits that you notice, maybe weight loss or weight gain, which can happen when folks go away to school. Be real careful about those kind of comments. It's perfectly natural to notice it, but before saying, what have you done with your hair? Oh my goodness, you've changed, or you've put on a lot of weight, or I see you've been eating a lot of extra meals, is to keep that to yourself at first, and then think about how you might phrase that. And it can come across and feel very judgmental. And as we're going to talk in just a second, students are pretty anxious about being judged and being criticized by parents when they come home because they're worried and self-conscious about that already. So keep your comments kind of to yourself at first until you have a minute to think about how you might bring something up. And if you do decide to bring something up, that's perfectly natural. You don't want to just kind of have this big elephant in the room. Oh, I noticed you have piercings that you didn't have before, or a tattoo that you didn't have before, your hair is blue. Just being thoughtful about the way that you say that as out of curiosity and observation, not out of criticism. And then the last tip from this article that really is important to think about is it's super common for the house to go through some transition when a student leaves the home. It might be that space that a student occupied is now used for some storage or exercise equipment or a guest room or some other kind of space. You might have moved, or maybe something else in the house is redecorated in a certain way. It's really important to give your student a heads up, just so that a lot of students have in mind, I'm going home. Home is familiar. Home is kind of what I know when I've been in this semester of maybe different and new routines. It's very comforting to go to something that is known and familiar. So give them a heads up. Shoot them a picture if you need to say, just want to let you see the new living room or the new furniture, or I rearranged your room. So that they know that that's coming, not to spring it on them. All right, so we're going to talk for a second how to connect. Students are anticipating what it's going to be like coming home. And this quote, as I was doing a little research to get ready for today, this quote came up and I was like, you know what? I think this is probably something that's pretty common for students to say when they get home. They feel like there's a lot of questions, because we do have so many questions that we want to ask them because we haven't been able to maybe get all that information. And so let's talk about that, and let's talk about how you can have some meaningful time and conversation without having your student feel overwhelmed. So I want to just think about some of the things that may be going on when your student does come home to visit. They are worried about it. Even in conversation we were having before this webinar, is just hearing a student say, like, I am not looking forward to going home because I know I'm going to get overwhelmed with family. Everybody's going to want to talk to me and I have questions. So know that they may already be anticipating that and preparing to feel overwhelmed. They do worry about being judged or misunderstood, feeling different, because they are a little bit different, and they worry about that. They also are very concerned about worrying you. They don't want you to feel a lot of stress because of them, and they worry that stress that they may be going through is going to be too much for you, or maybe some of the things that they've dealt with you wouldn't approve of or would be stressful for you. The other dynamic is they want to come home to things that are familiar and comfortable and everything's the same. And they also want it to be different because they're in a different phase of life. And so these can really contradict with each other and can be confusing for the family as well as the student. There's this kind of push and pull of, it's so comforting and nice just to feel like a kid again and to come home and have my laundry done and eat the comfort food that I love and sleep in my bed that I've always slept in. While at the same time, I want to be treated like an adult. I'm used to having my independence. I'm not used to somebody tracking when I'm coming and when I'm going. And so needing kind of that both and. Um, and there are some families that do have conflict and there is tension in the home. And so knowing that, what's going to happen and kind of anticipating what's going to happen, those things are all going through our students and probably through you too. Some ways that it can show up. Sometimes students will withhold information because they worry how you might react or how that might impact their visit home. So maybe spending and money or their substance use, for example, or if they really aren't enjoying their major and they're looking at changing their majors or their career plans, but there's some expectations from the family about what they're going to do. They may be really worried about talking about that with you. They also may not share honestly about mental health or struggles. A lot of the conversations we've had with students, some of the things that I've found that are pretty common, students that come from cultures and backgrounds that don't really talk about mental health. They don't feel it's an open environment to share about that because they're worried that it won't be validated or won't be believed, or it'll just be minimized. They also worry about burdening families, and that's a big thing that we hear. This will be too much for my family. I don't want them to worry. My family already has so much on them. They're dealing with a lot. My mom is already stressed, or my parents already have financial difficulties. I don't want to add to that burden. Students really feel that and may protect you from that distress. And so it's not that they don't want to connect with you, but they also want to be considerate and protect you from maybe feeling some negative or bad things. Time out, they may want time alone. They may spend time away from family. They may seem combative or seem like they're not cooperating, or they just want to be different. You just don't understand, or I'm just going to do it a different way, or maybe they argue. And part of that is just establishing their own independence as an adult and as a human separate from their family. I think some of these anxieties, like feeling overwhelmed and worried about being judged and having a lot of questions, can also result in having a short fuse. So maybe they feel defensive. Maybe they feel or seem like they are quick to react. And you're just like, hey, I'm just checking in. So that's where that transition home and having a minute for them to just be home without having to do a whole lot and talk a whole lot. Just simply saying at first, I'm really glad to see you. I'm glad you're home. I imagine you're pretty tired. Let me know what you'd like to do today or how I can, support you. I'm looking forward to spending time with you. It can be a nice way to just start. Some of the tips to keep in mind, I think respect. And, we love our children, parents love their children, but may not always think about what respect would look like in terms of learning to respect their lifestyle, their wardrobe, their appearance, their academics, social, all their decisions that they are making now and making on their own. Observations can, when you state something as an observation, that can be more affirming than a, what are you doing? Why do you look like that? Or why are you doing that? Or that's not something you've done before. And so just being cautious about that and saying, you're really establishing your independence, or I can tell you're developing your own identity, types of comments. Curiosity is really, I think, if I had to say, a mindset that could be most powerful in connecting with your child and your student, is just to be curious. Ask open-ended questions, have a point of view of just wanting to listen, wanting to understand, wanting to learn what that's like, with just a sense of, well, tell me more about that, or I'm just really curious. I really want to know more about what things have been like. Accepting your students as they are. I think a piece of this is managing your own feelings and managing your own anxiety. If you're feeling anxious or you're feeling frustrated or you're feeling sad, noticing your own reaction and separating that from what's going on with your student. That's really important to do your own, when it's your own issue. And so have somebody that you can talk to. Maybe you've got some of your own friends, maybe your partner, of a way to kind of say, this is really harder than I thought it would be. I'm excited to have them back. Things are going well, but I also realize I don't have my little kid anymore, and they're an adult, and I'm proud, but I'm also grieving. There's a lot that goes into that. Work to let go of your expectations of how things should be or were going to be or how you want them to be. Doing that expectation management is really important, and kind of accepting things as they are, because that's the only place you can be, is right here in the moment as they are, and kind of learning how to accept that. If you can tell your student is stressed or tired or overwhelmed, remind them they're not alone, and instill hope. Encourage them, encourage help-seeking behavior, and we'll talk a little bit about how to have a conversation about concern. But just remind them that they have your support and they have your love, and that it's unconditional. And that goes a really long way. Even if they don't let you know that they appreciate it, they hear it, and that's important. I wanted to include just some tips for active listening. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I think what active listening means is that we're listening to understand, not listening to respond. And so it's not about making sure they hear your advice or making sure they hear what you think, making sure you respond to what, as far as like your opinion about things, but really just showing up and being available to listen. Open-ended questions and open-ended responses like, tell me more. Well, what about your classes? What about your roommates? Tell me what you did in your free time. What was that like? And allowing some space for them to just kind of share some things. Affirmations are really important too. And genuine affirmations. I think some of the affirmations that can be really helpful for college students to hear is when you see them building their competence and efficacy as a human and an adult. I see you really figured out how to manage your time this semester. You did a good job balancing your priorities. I can tell that studying was really a priority for you this semester. Meeting friends was something that you really were able to do now that you could get involved. You're doing a good job at that. Your finances ended up being good here at the end of the semester, or you tried really hard at A, B, C, and D. So affirmations can be really, really important. And sometimes it's just affirming values, or it's affirming independence, or it's affirming their self-awareness or them becoming more independent. Reflective listening, those are techniques where you really do kind of reflect back like a mirror, what you see them saying. I can see you're stressed, or I can tell by what you're saying it was hard to balance everything this semester. I can see you really enjoyed meeting friends. Sounds like that organization you got involved with really gave you some great opportunities. Wow, that internship, I can tell you learned a lot and that you enjoyed that. So again, you see that can reflect back what you're hearing in them and what you're picking up on what they're trying to share. And then summaries, that's a great active listening technique, especially when there's a lot of information. You just kind of are able in a concise way to give the overall theme or summary of what someone said. It's like, you've had a really full semester. Your classes have been hard. School's been back in full swing with activities, all the student orgs. You've been involved in a lot of leadership opportunities, or you've had a lot going on. Work has been really stressful. And yet you did it. And you've got this semester under your belt. And now you can have a break. Now you can have a rest. And so that's an example of how a summary can let them see you were listening and you were paying attention to the parts of what they were sharing that matter. Sometimes you might pick up on stress, mental health concerns, or you might have a hunch. Maybe they haven't told you, but you just know that they've been through a lot, or maybe they struggled in high school or they've struggled before. And so I want to give you just this 5-step model as a way to bring it up that is, pretty gentle, I guess, and not as like, it's an easier way to bring it up. People are worried about bringing up mental health concerns. I don't want to plant a seed. I don't want to make assumptions. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want them to be mad. So here's something that I suggest. The first thing that you do is you just pick up on what you've noticed. I've noticed that you've been spending a lot of time in your room since you got home. Maybe you've noticed that they've been really tired or really quiet. You've noticed that they've been connecting with their friends at school a whole lot, or maybe they haven't been. You seem a little down, or insert whatever you might have a hunch about. So I wanted to check in. It's not as important to be right as it is to open the door. And so you seem a little down, or you seemed a little stressed, or you seem really tired. So I just wanted to check in, lets them know like why you're checking in. So it's not just so random. The fall semester in college can be overwhelming and exhausting. It doesn't matter what year you are, fall semester is overwhelming and exhausting. I know a lot of college students are stressed. I mean, you could even say, you know what, I watched this webinar and really got to thinking about it. And I know that it can be really stressful. And this fall's been really unique coming out of COVID. And a lot of college students feel stressed or feel tired or feel overwhelmed. So I'm wondering if you're stressed and if you're doing okay. So it kind of takes it as kind of more objective. This is a real common thing. I'm not singling you out. I care about you. I'm kind of checking in. I'm opening the door. I'm wondering makes it tentative. It's not aggressive. Like, are you stressed? Do you have depression? Do you have anxiety? It's like, I'm just checking in, kind of opening that door in a softer kind of way. I'm wondering if you're stressed and if you're doing okay. And is this true for you? I'm here for support or to talk if you'd like. And so this process can give you an ease your way in, open the door, even if they don't talk right at that. I'm fine. Things are fine. I'm good. Say, okay, well, you're going to be home for a few days. I'm here if you decide. Hopefully you'll be able to get a break. I know that it's been a tough semester, and just kind of offer that affirmation and understanding. Even just planting a seed that if things aren't okay, hopefully they are, but if they aren't, you're open to them talking about that and you'll be okay if they do. So the next little bit, I'm just going to really give you some tools that I think are super helpful. The first and top thing is just compassion. I think we live in a time right now where compassion is a balm and compassion is really needed. And so practicing self-compassion, definitely, but also compassion for others. And if that mindset of compassion is there, then your student will know that. And so just putting that in the forefront. I do always kind of say, if you notice that you're feeling like critical or judgmental or kind of reactive or angry, check in with yourself. There may be something going on with you. It could be some of that grief. It could be some of the stress because you have so much going on with the holidays. It could be maybe your expectations are really high and you need to manage those a little bit. And so remembering to practice compassion for yourself and for others is really important. There's a really great app that UAB has developed. Actually, it was envisioned by students, and it is a mental health app that really is a hub of all kinds of mental health resources for students. Then one of the biggest features that I really wanted to mention to y'all, and actually anybody can download this app, so you're welcome to download it too. You might want to go ahead and scan that QR code or take a picture of this for later, and you can check it out. But there's a customizable self-care plan that allows somebody just to really be thoughtful about what movement you have in your day, how you're managing what you eat, the kind of mental health, like resiliency kind of factors that you're thinking about. What's your sleep habits right now? And because the holidays change our routine, it's helpful to maybe have a self-care plan because you can look at it every day. There's a daily habit tracker, a little journal is super easy to use. There's also some other resources that are available if students need help just kind of calming down or having some time for meditation or mindfulness or even some yoga, and also access to other mental health resources if that's something that they need. Now, this is available all of the time, but it is a tool for over the holidays, especially if self-care is something that students may need to reconnect to. This can help them do that. If students are needing connection and feeling a little more alone or isolated and need just a chance to connect in an anonymous way, we have a platform that's free for all of our students called Together All. They can connect to this community and share how they're feeling. They can get advice. They can also, there's some courses that they have that they can learn different techniques, and then some really great tools to track how they're feeling and understand a little bit more about how they're feeling. This is, again, students register with their UAB email and it's free for all of our enrolled students. And this is something that students have really enjoyed being able to have because 24/7 they can connect with others. And then TAO is another free app that students can download and use. And it has a just wealth of self-help resources. So if they have something that they want to work on over the holidays, or they just want to manage their stress, or they want to think about how to practice mindfulness, or maybe there's some relationship conflict that they have, or maybe substance use concerns, or just how to deal with getting stuck in their thoughts. There are all kinds of resources that TAO has right there in their pocket. It's an easy to use, wonderful resource, and it's free again for all students. They just activate that with their UAB email. All these resources are on our website. These are all on, we have a whole part of our website that are things that students can use when classes are out of session. So they're things that can be done on their own, away from class, while they're at home, on their break, to continue to get some support. And then finally, I want to round out with self-care for the holidays. And I want to think about family self-care too. This is definitely for your student, but also just for all of us to think about. Setting realistic expectations is really key. Try to let go of what the perfect holiday will be, what the perfect experience will be, what it should look like, what you want it to be, and just let go of those expectations. It doesn't mean that you don't care. It just means that you're going to allow for what will be to be, and that won't affect your ability to enjoy your time together. Staying open and flexible and kind of expecting things to go their own way can help you as well. And that helps with anxiety. And that also helps just kind of keep everybody like, it's okay. No, the turkey didn't end up how we wanted it to, but that's okay. Or no, I didn't spend as much time with you as I wanted to, but that's okay. I did get to spend some time. So practicing gratitude is a piece of that as well. And remembering, and even like every day, is there something that you can say you can be grateful for? There's always something, even if it's, I'm grateful for the air that I breathe today. I'm grateful to be here today. Avoid overscheduling and saying no when needed, kind of being mindful of boundaries, giving yourself, your family, open time that isn't always filled up. so that you can have a break. If there are events and things that you don't want to go to, say no. Say yes so your yeses can be yeses, and say no so that your yeses can be yeses, and that's okay. And sometimes it's hard because there are obligations that you feel like you have. So thinking intentionally about managing that and giving yourself permission. Take a real break. Sometimes holidays can feel more exhausting than our typical weeks because there's so much going on. So see if you can find a time to take a real break, to detach individually and as a family. And then finally, being in the present moment. The only time we can truly be is right here, right now. We can't be in the future right now. We can't go back to the past, but you can be right here in the right now. So try to take moments where you just pause and breathe in the current moment, and be mindful of the current moment, and be present. And remember to have fun. Laugh at yourself, laugh at the things that are funny, enjoy some moments that you can. Intentionally plan things that you enjoy. Remember to have fun. That's really important self-care for you and for your family. All right, well, that's all that I have right now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and want to open it up for any questions or any comments that folks would like to add or share.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stowe. That was a wealth of information, and there's a lot of additional resources that families can look into and have their students also connect into some of those apps that will be very helpful, not just during the holidays, but throughout the whole year. So while we wait for a couple of questions, I just wanted to remind parents, of course, you can submit your questions, families, through the Q&A section box over here, and also through Facebook. The webinar will be live and available for viewing again with other family members who maybe weren't able to come and join us right now on Facebook, and then we will post it on our website, UAB families@uab.edu, and for you to view not just this webinar but also past webinars. And so as we wait for some additional questions, just two more things I need to remind you of. Right after, well, in the next couple of minutes, if not already, you should have gotten a survey, and we would like your input and information about what you felt about the webinar, and what other topics you would like for the future. We will be trying to add a couple more webinars, not just during the summer, but throughout the semester, so that you can get connected, not just to the university, but also find ways to stay connected with your student and what's going on. So you should get the survey soon, if not already got the survey. And one last thing, one commercial before we open it up for some more questions is you have the opportunity to get an exam survival kit for your student. Final exams are coming up, and we are offering survival kits, which have goodies and just things to take the stress away, and just your own message from home. So you can go onto the Family Hub, and there's a tab on the left-hand side, and you can just go through there and purchase your kit. Now we're running out of kits, so we have about less than 100 left. So make sure that if you want to get one, you go ahead and do so quickly. So we are waiting for some other questions, but I just want to piggyback on something you said, Dr. Stowe, about when students come home and maybe some family members may make a comment that's probably it's well-intentioned, but it's not the best comment. And, oh, your hair's looking different. So how important it is for us families to turn that around and make it a positive remark, and not just, if it was not submitted in the best way, just for families to turn it around. And also I like the fact that you said, if they need their time, sometimes we as family members or as parents take it personally. They don't want to be with us, and they've changed. So they're more mature, and we want our babies to be back home, or our students to be back home, and we want it to be the same, but they're growing up. So sometimes we may take that personal and say, oh, it's against me. What did I do wrong? And it's not that. It's they're growing up and they're becoming much more independent. So let's cherish that as well. monitoring for questions. And again, families, if you don't have any questions right now, you're welcome to also send them to our email, families@uab.edu, and I'll be glad to send those questions over to Dr. Stowe if you have some questions that you feel more comfortable asking on a one-on-one basis. Dr. Stowe, is there any last minute thoughts that you want to leave us with? I don't see any questions coming in right now, and that's okay. We can take them later. Is there any last minute thoughts?
Well, I appreciate kind of your feedback and the comments as follow-up. I know one of the things that families may also want to do, and you reminded me of this, is preparing other family members as well. If you're going to have grandparents and aunts and uncles and neighbors and friends, to just kind of caution them from overwhelming the college student as well, and not taking it personally. I think that's such a great takeaway. We know that our students are growing up and our students are changing. And I don't know that we always recognize that that means we change too, and our relationship with them changes, and that affects us. And that's, kind of taking that into account. It's an exciting time, but it also is, it can be a lot of other things too. So thanks for the opportunity to talk about it. And hopefully today's been helpful and given some tips for families to get ready for that time and make the most of it together.
Yes, definitely. And so thank you very much. At this time, we don't have any questions coming in. But again, if you want to submit your questions later on, you can do so via email. And don't forget the exam kits if you would like to do that and to complete the survey. And so, Dr. Stowe, thank you very much for being here with us today. And we wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And again, looking towards the holidays and the end of the semester. Let us know if we can help you in any way. Give us an email, give us a call, and then we're here to help you. So there's one question. Well, no, it's just a great comment. Thank you so much. What wonderful information. We are so glad that you enjoyed it. And we hope to have some more of these webinars throughout the year. So let us know what topics you would be interested in. So thank you, everybody who was here today, and share this with family members as you all get ready for the holidays. So have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, and let us know if we can help in any way. Thank you, Dr. Stowe.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.